time in night time when you supposed to spare your time with your family, but now we can have you in our class. Yes, and I mean that I think I will introduce you first to everybody. Actually, this is a guest lecture for research methodology subject. We in master accounting class. Yeah, most of us here are student, and then some accounting lecture, and we are very curious with how we have to do the research methodology in this time. I mean that in disruption time, in the ambiguous time, in digital time. I mean, this is kind of very challenging. So that's why we want to hear your experience. I think Accounting Research Institute, the place that you are in charge there, you work there, are have very much experience. Yeah, student and lecturer Bu Enda, Bu Dwi, and Bu Aning. Actually, Ibu Dr. Sarifah Nur Sehan is pejabat ya, manajemen, part of management of Accounting Research Institute in UIT Emara. And then I think yeah, Prof. Sehan have very good achievement, such as she got the best thesis award by Yayasan Nurul Yakin at 2012, and then she also got wait. She finished her PhD from UIT Emara on 2011, while she has also finished her master accounting from Western Australia on 1998. Yeah, and then she has a lot of experience in teaching, have grad, and also how many, eight students for to supervise for the PhD. And then yeah, there are so many achievements that Miss Sehan have already done. So I think we can wait. I don't want waste our time with my speaking, but I will saya akan menyerahkan langsung to Dr. Sehan to give your lecture. Please, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Prof. Indra. Nice to see you and nice to see everyone tonight. I believe that all of you are going to do your research. You are doing your masters, and definitely there are a lot of research that can be done. And with the technology that we have, I think you can gain more experience in doing a lot more research. All right. So what I will do tonight is I'll be sharing with you some of the experience that I have in doing research, but there are certain things that you have to understand okay, how technology affects our research method, but there are certain things that just doesn't change, and there are certain things that changes, all right? So these are the things that I'll be sharing with you tonight. Okay, allow me to share the screen. Hopefully, yeah, okay. All right, this is a title that is actually given to me by Prof. Indra. Okay, I was actually thinking, what should I be putting in for tonight? But basically, after going through a lot of, preparation, I would say that there's something that you will be surprised, okay, in terms of the research method that you are taking, okay, things that just doesn't affect the way how you do your research, but how it can actually help in expediting in using certain technologies to do your research. Okay, as I give the lecture, and if anyone has got any question, you can just stop me. I think Asrini can actually help to, manage the session. It's good to have a two-way communication. Okay, as I give lecture, if you don't understand, you can actually ask the question. Okay, this is the brief outline. Okay, I'll be mixing the language a bit, all right, so that all of you can actually participate well in this particular session. So what I will cover tonight will be what is social science research, social science subjects and research areas, how is social science research conducted, digital era, are we there, and research and technology. Okay. So basically, what is a social science research? According to Smith 2017, all right, social science research is about understanding interactions with the world that we live in. What it means here is that, all right, in social science research, we want to understand how things work around us. Okay? Even a simple little things can be a research, all right? Even though that that particular research doesn't involve many people, but it can still be a research as long as, okay, what you want to actually search for is you want to understand the interactions with the world. For example, sepertinya malam ini ya, okay, this particular session can also be shared. It can also be a research if you want to see how the interaction between a speaker and the students. So if you are talking about education research, this is something that you can also do because why? You want to understand how students interact with the speakers and how moderators interact with the speakers and how the MC interact with the speakers. So if you want to understand how this particular situation takes place, you can watch several webinars which are in line with what we are doing tonight. This can be your source of your research as well, all right, if it's part of your study. And then Smith also mentioned that social science is also about making sense of the institutions of phenomena that shape our life. It means that even in the situations that we have tonight, if you want to make sense on why are you coming to the webinar tonight? What is it that you are looking for? So that can also make another kind of research if you want to really look into it. Okay, malamnya, if you say you want to understand, okay, why there are so many people attending it. Are they attending it because they have to, or are they attending the webinar because that they want to seek for new knowledge? All right. So basically, for you to make sense of what is around you is also a research. Even if, right, Asrini is there as an MC, for example, all right, by becoming an MC to several webinars, you can see the interaction between one particular person to another, and that can also be your research as well. All right. As long as there are something that intrigues you, that means yang you want to know. All right. So you can actually have that as a research. So what we want is you want to find evidence, mencari bukti, and from that particular bukti we are trying to find the knowledge. Okay, maknanya ilmu di sebalik bukti yang didapati, what knowledge do you get from there? All right, so that's basically what social science research is all about. Nothing got to do with medical or whatever it is, but even if in medical research, all right, even if in medical research, okay, you can also have an element of social sciences there, in a way that you want to know how the doctors interact with patients. That can also be an element of research. You want to find how they interact. All right. So basically, this is what social science research is all about. Okay. Some of the examples of research that people do in social science is actually helping to increase the quality of life. That means if you want to find out, okay, you want to elevate poverty in your areas, perhaps you want to understand why they become poor and what are the things that they need, okay, to ensure that they can increase their living standard. You can also have that as part of your research. These are some of the examples of research that people conduct. In the context of research that I have been doing in terms of the social science and related to the quality of life is that, okay, I conducted, okay, me and my team have conducted research in finding out, okay, how are asnaf, okay, living standard increase when they receive the zakat money. How did they do it? How they use this particular money? Charity money. Let's say you give it to the poor. You want to find out how the poor use the money and how they actually use the money to increase their living standard. That is something that you can also have for social science research. The reason why I touch on social science research is I think we are from accounting, all right? We are from business management, maybe some of you, okay? Social science research is very much related to us as compared to pure research, all right? So this is something that we can actually do as well. But the challenge of doing the social science research is that you can't actually see the physical output. For example, if I were to say that you are trying to find, okay, the quality of life of the poor people after you give them the charity money, but how are you going to actually see whether they have increased in terms of the quality of life? Perhaps you have to go there, see them and observe. Or you might be coming out with some mechanism to make the measurement, all right, to see whether the quality of life has increased. So this is basically some of the research that can actually be conducted and have been conducted by so many people. Okay, sometimes you do research, okay, for a firm or a company or manufacturing company, for instance, because you want to look into the productivity level of that particular company. So you may want to conduct research and find out what are the processes or the activities that can be done in that particular organization to increase the productivity. And in certain parts as well, okay, you may want to look into some of the processes and procedures to see the accountability and the transparency of the organization as well. All right. And there are some research which you can also do to look into improving the inefficiencies and ineffectiveness of certain process. So basically, these are some of the example of research that you can actually do. My advice is that if you just started your research, try to look into some easy things for you to do your research. You don't have to look into something that is so difficult for you to do it. All right. So try and find interesting and simple topics which is around you. All right. Which you can actually research on. It can be anything that is around you. even if we are talking about, okay, for example, you are in accounting field, right? And you are doing your master's now, and you are supposed to be doing your research. A simple research that you can do is you can look into even among the master students, okay, whether online learning is something that has helped them in understanding accounting well or not, or perhaps you can make comparison with face-to-face. All right, these are some of the simple research areas that can actually be done. Like, you know, okay, social science subjects are accounting, finance, business management, political science, or economics. Okay, even if there are several subjects in social sciences, doesn't mean that you only have to choose one, all right, and just do in one particular area only. Nowadays, people are moving towards interdisciplinary. That means you are from accounting, you can also join with those in computer sciences, all right, or computer subjects for you to actually come up with one research area, all right? So this is something that you can actually do as well. So don't try to be so rigid in only looking at accounting only, okay? Because nowadays, people are all moving towards interdisiplin, berbagai-bagai disiplin. Doesn't mean that you are in accounting, hanya buat accounting saja, right? So you can also choose other partners, or maybe your research can also combine other subjects as well, all right? So you can also combine economics and accounting, all right? You can also combine business management and political science, or business management and economics. Okay, so these are the areas that can be combined. And as you read, okay, important thing is you read a lot. All right, as you read the articles, you will find that people starts combining from various subjects to another subjects, right? That's why you see that some of the possible research areas are talking about managing finance. Maybe you can add in a little bit of accounting inside there. It's not just about finance. Or if you want to add a little bit about education, you can do that as well. All right. Perhaps you're studying how students manage their finance. Okay. So this is one of the research areas that can also be conducted as well. The one that is more common, especially related to the Accounting Research Institute, is basically looking into ethics and moral values. All right, we are talking about risk because we are very much looking into areas of financial criminology. All right, and we are also looking into how Islamic perspective can help us manage financial crime better in that sense. All right, so these are our research areas at the Accounting Research Institute. So when you say, I thought that, okay, when you're talking about financial criminology, Islamic muamalat, so you're only looking into all this particular Islamic organization. Not necessarily, all right? So there are many areas that you can actually embark and combine it with, all right? So like us, when you say that, okay, I'm studying on Waqaf, Waqaf is just an organization, becomes my context. But what I'm studying inside the Waqaf is the social science subjects. I'm looking into how, all right, the Waqaf money can actually help to increase the productivity of the recipients. I'm looking into how Waqaf can help economic growth. You see, so that's how it's being actually combined. So try your best to have an open mind every time that, okay, you want to search for a research topic. And I can also combine Waqaf with risk mitigation, how risk mitigation is actually being applied in that organization. So Waqaf is only an organization that I use. But the context of what I am studying is actually the subject matter in the social sciences. Okay. So others are effective governance. You can also cover leadership. You can also cover culture and religion. All right. You can also cover issues like alleviating poverty and definitely the quality of life that we have actually mentioned earlier on. How is social science research conducted? Even though we're talking about digital era, all right, social science research are still conducted according to how it should be conducted. It's either you use a qualitative approach or a quantitative approach, right? And in certain situations, people now start moving into mixed method. Okay, under mixed method, you have both, okay, a little bit of qualitative and you have also quantitative approach as well that you use together. You can choose whether you want to go for qualitative, okay, or you can choose whether you want to go for quantitative. What I did not put tonight here is the mixed method, but there's one particular approach which can be used is actually a mixed method by combining these two. How do you combine them? It's all depending on what your objective of the study is. All right. For certain objective requires you to answer that particular objective using a qualitative approach. And there are also some objective requires you to do quantitative approach. So you know your research best and you would know which particular method should be actually used. Why I didn't put the mixed method here is that, all right, it's a combination of both qualitative and quanti. Once you understand what qualitative research is and what quantitative research is, you'll be able to marry the two things together. So you can actually come up with a good mixed method techniques. So basically, what is a qualitative approach? Any one of you knows what qualitative approach is all about? Qualitative approach is something that you don't use figures. There's no figures in terms of, you know, the kind of research that you are doing. You are not looking into any financial elements, any figures, but you can still do qualitative approach. Okay, you can still do qualitative research in accounting. Okay, one thing that you can actually look at, like I mentioned earlier, is behavioral studies. All right, behavioral studies in accounting can also be one of the ways how you can actually use qualitative approach. It's about what? According to Miriam, okay, it's about describing something. It's about interpreting something, and it's about evaluating or establishing a theory. So when I say describing, I'm talking about, okay, describing how people learn. Okay, how do you learn accounting? Different people will learn, especially financial accounting. All right. So how people learn financial accounting? Can you describe how they learn? Why do you want to understand how they learn financial accounting? Because different people will have a different approach of studying. All right. So they will have a different way of studying financial accounting. So if you are interested in education, that's where you can actually look at. All right. So you're combining now accounting with basically education. And sometimes you want to interpret a scenario. What kind of interpretation that you're talking about? For example, if you're looking at one company or one particular shop, for example, let's say when you were small, okay, you used to see one shop in front of your house, for example, all right? So after a while, you see that some of the shops in front of your house are expanding, but there are some shops there are now started to close down, all right? So you were wondering, why is this happening? So what you want to find out is you're trying to find an evidence, okay, why these things are happening, and you are trying to interpret it in the context of your study. Okay, Perhaps your study, you just want to find out why some business sustain, why some business doesn't sustain. So you are trying to find an evidence, and from that evidence, you will interpret by giving a reason on why those particular business that you saw ages ago are still there, and why there are some business that you saw ages ago are no longer there. So you are trying to find an explanation. So that's how qualitative approach helps in research. There's no figures. Okay, there's no figures. It's just that trying to find out the reason, basically. All right, you're trying to find a reason and explaining things. And sometimes you want to understand organizational practices. For example, why nowadays, right, universities are very aggressive in organizing webinars. So you want to understand that particular practice. What is it for? So from there as well, you can actually conduct a research on that. All right. So Ben Eliyahu would actually describe qualitative approach as understand and describe phenomena in a deep, comprehensive manner. That means when you say understanding something in a deep, comprehensive manner, you can also try to understand, okay, why all these accounting lecturers that you have been teaching in this particular university for a very long time. So what you want to do is you want to find out the reason, and you start interviewing one by one. Okay, and from there, they will give you answers, and that's where you will try to find out deeper answers. For example, they will tell you that, oh, I like this place, but you would want to know more. So you try to dig more. Why do they like that place? Why do they like that university? So when you conduct a further interview or investigation, they will tell you more than that. So this is what we meant by understanding and describing phenomena in a deep, comprehensive manner. All right. Again, sometimes it's just a matter of answering research questions about experience, meaning, and perspective of people over a certain issues. And you want to hear it from the participants. That means the interviewees. So basically, that can also be one of the type of qualitative approach that's actually being used in studies. So basically, okay, katakan you are in a class, okay, you want to know each and every of your friends, and you want their opinion on certain issues, for example. Okay, a simple one. For example, in the earlier of this particular session just now, okay, we have two songs that was aired and being played. That was your national anthem, and after that, there is actually your university song, I believe, right? So what you want to find out is you want to understand how participants react towards that particular song. Okay, when they are being played, how do they feel? Do they have sense of belonging after they have heard those particular songs? So you want to know what these people tell you. So you can also use that as part of your research. A simple thing as that can also be part of your research. So basically, from what I've explained throughout and supported by Franz Worth, all right, this is a non-numerical data. Your data will be in the form of coding, theme. That means you will have to thematize. Maksudnya apa dia punya tema untuk every answers being given by your colleagues just now. If you ask about the national anthem, how do they feel? They feel that they love Indonesia more. Maybe you can put there a sense of belonging sebagai dia punya tema. All right. So what else? How else do they feel? Some of them feel that, oh, they feel that they're happy and cheerful to hear the song. You have one particular theme that is cheerful and happy. So basically, the data that you get, why people like that song, one, because it creates sense of belonging among the listeners. Second, it makes the listeners happy because of listening to that particular song. So that means you have reasons to give on why people, how people react when they hear the song. So that's research, and that is non-numerical data. But if you want to quantify it, right, what you can do is you can group them. How many people feel that they have sense of belonging? Maybe you have 80 people you asked. 5 says that it develops sense of belonging. 10 people says that they are happy and cheerful. Another 10 says something else. So that's how you actually able to categorize them. All right. So this is what qualitative research is all about. I'm not going to touch in detail on how it is, because I'm trying to relate this to the digital era that we are talking about just now, after this. And when it comes to quantitative approach, right, basically we are talking about a bigger picture of certain situations. And it's not just about 1 or 2 participants or just a small number of participants, but this one involves larger populations. All right. So for example, we are not talking just about your university here, but we are talking about the whole university in Jawa Timur. Okay. So we are talking about the phenomena that is actually bigger. So this is what this is how quantitative approach can actually help to address a bigger number of participants. Because when there are populations, you will take samples. All right, you are not going to study the whole of Jawa Timur, but perhaps in Jawa Timur you will definitely have district, right? Ada daerah-daerahnya. So what you do is maybe you will break it into the daerah. And the daerah, how many universities are there in that daerah? So you can actually choose that as your sample. Even if just now you are talking about increasing the quality of life, all right? Instead of going to a few participants, you are now going to a bigger participants. That means you are trying to study the quality of life for the whole of Jawa Timur or a certain daerah in Jawa Timur. Okay, so when you have bigger population, that's where you need quantitative approach. All right, you cannot interview everybody in Jawa Timur. There will be so many people that you want to interview. So what you do is you take a sample, you can use questionnaire survey. All right, so when you use questionnaire survey, I don't know how is it kaji selidik? How do you call that? A survey. You have questions that you send to people so that people will answer that. A questionnaire. Questionnaire.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, when you talk about questionnaire, it will reach bigger numbers. All right. And once you have already sent the questionnaire, you get it back, then you analyze. But what you can do is you can actually make a generalization. For example, you can say that from the questionnaire survey that you did, all right, people in Jawa Timur, the quality of life is above average, for example. And how do you know it's above average? For a quantitative, you need to find the measurement. How are you going to divide the quality of life? If you are doing qualitative, the quality of life we can just be mentioned by you observing that, oh, now they have, before this they don't have a car, now they have a car. Before this they don't have television in their house, now they have. So basically that tells you that the quality of life increased. But you can only see those that you go down and investigate and see them personally. But for the whole people in Jawa Timur, you are not able to go from one house to another. But what you do is you put them in a questionnaire, a question, and you ask them to answer. Once you are giving to a bigger sample, okay, to represent the population, you will be able to generalize from there, saying that people in Jawa Timur is actually, the quality of life in Jawa Timur is good. What makes you say is good? You have your measurement just now that you have already set before you send the questionnaire. So it's very much quantified, all right? We are talking about statistical analysis that you have to use, all right? So this is basically what quantitative approach is all about. Quali, no statistical analysis, but you still need some technology to help you in managing the data. That one I will actually explain later on. Okay. What do you understand by digital era? Do you think that we are in digital era now? We are, right? What have you experienced when you talk about digital era? From not so much of using the technology, if you ask us, okay, the generation that I am in and the generation that Prof. Indra in, all right, we are born in the era of maybe some of your lecturers, we are born actually in the era where there are no computers. Even if there are computers during those days, that was the old type of computer. I don't know whether you have come across it or not. It's very bulky. The screen is black, and then you know even the writing there is green, right? And the kind of software that we have are so limited during that time. And it doesn't help us much in terms of searching for information. It's just about helping us in doing things, just a process, right? Talking about typing, things like that, you know, and then not so much of helping us in terms of a software like Excel, hardly could reach there, all right? So as time goes by, okay, this particular technology evolves, especially computer technology. It's very fast, the evolution is very fast, and you can see that now the technology has helped us in our acquiring of knowledge. Why? Because during those days, that was the generation slightly earlier than me, when they did their PhD, they still use typewriter. All right. And when you search for articles, you need to go to the library and you need to look for hard copy journals, the latest one that you have to photocopy, things like that, to use that particular literature. As time passed by, all right, the typewriter becomes more sophisticated, and after that, people start to move towards computer technology. And as it reached my time, we can still search for some of the articles, right? But not so much during that time. Okay? Not many databases are actually in place. However, we still have some database, but we still have to go to the library and search for the hard copy of certain articles, which they keep it in a microfiche, for example. It's like a film, all right, which they keep it in the library. And if you want that particular article, you have to actually borrow it, and then the librarian will help us to actually print it from that particular film, all right? So I don't think so you can find that anymore, all right? So that's how actually the technology evolves from one particular period to another period. And I believe that nowadays it's at your fingertips. You can easily find articles. You just search the web. You can easily get articles to do your research. All right. That's how the influence of this particular technology in the acquiring of knowledge. And when I say in the acquiring of knowledge, it's not just about studying. It's about doing research as well. Because when you do research, you get new findings. That new findings is new knowledge. You understand things better, and it will actually makes you want to do more and more research after that. All right. So during those days, technology are very much used to help people in the industry. Excuse me. Yeah. Okay, sorry for that. When we talk about the birth of technology, we are talking about, all right, most of the technologies that are being used before this, all right, are the technologies, okay, that are being used for factories, right? From labor intensive to machine intensive kind of activities. And it's very much helping the industry, all right, to perform rather than talking about helping the industry to actually create knowledge. But nowadays, when we talk about what digital era has done, instead of just helping the industry to actually perform in their product activities and be more productive, they are now moving towards information-based economy. What is information-based economy is that, all right, from the kind of technology that you are used to help them increase the productivity, it's not only increasing productivity then on that particular time, but this particular technology would give the industry more information about how they can actually perform better in the future. All right. So if you're talking about Nestle, you have heard of Nestle, right? So basically, some of the technology that they use there is actually to help them produce better products. Okay. With that particular products that they are producing, they are also capturing information on the product itself, how the process has actually helped them to produce that better products, so that they will be able to actually revisit and see where they can further improve. And that's where the R&D starts coming in, the research and development. All right. So when they face problem in the factory, this particular problem will be brought into discussion and they will find solution for it. And this is what we meant by from industrial base to information base. That means we are not just talking about problem faced that the production department is being left there and then just, resolve there. They are talking about this particular information need to be documented. And it's not just documented, and this needs to be researched on as well. You need to find out why it happens. And once you know the reason, it has to be documented as well, so that if the same thing were to happen in the future, they will know what to do with it. All right. So basically, it transforms how we do things. It transforms our life, our culture, including our way of conducting our research. So basically, this is what it is all about. Do you think that we are there in the digital era? What do you think? Are we in the digital era?
Yes, we are, I think, ma'am.
Yeah. So are we there? Yes, we are actually there already, even tonight. Okay. We are actually in that particular era. Okay. If not, I would have been flying to Jawa Timur tonight. Okay, seeing you there. But however, I could actually travel virtually. Okay. Just in a split of seconds, I can just, turn on my computer and then just locked in and I'm able to see you. We are still able to meet tonight because of the technology that we are having now. All right. So a couple of years back, even though this particular technology has existed, but because of that, we are so used to face-to-face, we never thought that we will be using this particular platform. All right. So the COVID-19 has actually expedited, okay, make it fast for us to actually use technology. We just we are forced into it. We have no choice but to actually use technology. So because of that particularly, you can see that how fast that we are into this particular digital era. Even nowadays, you can find that your textbook are no longer in that physical form. Your textbook is actually in soft copy, PDF. Some, in fact, using ebooks. All right. And you are no longer carrying your textbook around. Even though some may, right? But most of the time, your textbook is where? Inside your phone. Right? At first, I was always wondering, okay, when I entered to the class, why are my students not carrying any textbook? Only that I know, and they keep on playing with the phone. And then I noticed that, what do you have inside your phone? And then they show me that, oh, this is my ebook for this particular subject. Only then I realized that, oh, this is how the new generation actually acquire knowledge. And from that particular small gadget, all right, they are able to actually get as much information as possible. And they're able to actually write there. They don't have to bring their pen. They don't have to bring their pencil. Everything is in that particular phone. For those who are using like iPad, things like that, everything is inside there. So the way that study is being conducted is not the same like before. And that's where people like us, all right, who are actually born ages ago, need to actually transform as well. So by using this particular technology, we hope to transform together with the students. Even though we can't beat them, we can just have to join them. There's no way that we can beat your generation because you are already born in that particular digital era. All right. So however, with this kind of technology, it doesn't stop you from acquiring knowledge, and it doesn't stop you to do your research. Research can still be conducted. In fact, some research can be conducted effectively and efficiently by the use of technology. How long have you been using computer technology in your activities? Forget about research, but in your activities, in your acquiring of knowledge, how long have you been using the computer?
I think since I can remember, ma'am, actually.
Okay.
For that long.
So that means you are born with the technology. Basically, you use computer technology ages and ages ago. All right. So You are very familiar with how the technology works, especially the computer technology. So with the use of this particular technology, especially in research, it helps us a lot in obtaining information. I remember years back when I have to do a research, just to actually formulating questionnaire, I need to actually search for all these hard copy journals to help me to find information for me to construct that particular questionnaire. And the next thing that we did was we have to post the questionnaire to the potential participants. And not just that we post the questionnaire, we have to post together with the questionnaire address envelope, so that once they finish filling in the questionnaire, okay, they will put it inside the envelope together with the stamp that's attached to it and post it back to us. And it takes time for us to actually get it back. But with the use of technology, okay, this has stopped. We don't have to actually post anymore like before. And even if we were to do that, I think people will be like, you know, seeing us in a different manner, as was wondering when are we actually born, all right, for still using the old way of collecting our data. However, okay, even if there are use of technology, after this I will share with you, no matter how high-tech we are, in certain situations, we still have to go back to the traditional way of collecting our data. All right. So because of that technology, okay, the way that we conduct research is fast, and because of that as well, we get fast findings. All right. Once you get findings very fast, you get knowledge very fast. Okay, all these findings will then be written in journals. Okay, they are published. So it goes there quite fast. Unlike before, it takes ages and ages to be inside the journal, okay, to be published in the journal. So because of that particular reason, that's why you see that your lecturers might tell you, okay, if you have to do this research, I want you to find articles only up to the latest 5 years back to come up with the issue. Why not 10 years? Why not 15 years? Because that knowledge has already become obsolete. All right? Because the technology has already made it fast. All right? So it has expedited all this new knowledge. So most of the research that are conducted nowadays are very much associated with the use of information communication technology. All right. Let me just share with you on how basically research and technology plays its role in some of this particular research. All right. Okay. Talking about planning for your research, doing literature search, okay, doing your data collection, doing your data analysis and data management. Basically, you are influenced by technology. Why do I say like planning for research? You're influenced by technology as well. Because in searching for your information, you will need computer, you will definitely search using Google platform to search for your articles. All right. What else? You have database that you can get access to, okay, to find areas of research. And once you found that, even in your literature search, that you will definitely have to use computer again and search for information. You have Google Scholar, you have Emerald database, you have what? Science Direct, okay? Apps co-host, things like that. So these are the kind of database that helps you in your literature. So that's how technology actually helps. Previously, those databases are in a form of books. It's a handbook full of articles inside there. And you need to search for it. And if your library doesn't subscribe, then you don't have that particular journal. So you need to borrow from another library. Then you have to do what? Interlibrary loan. So when you do interlibrary loan, it takes quite some time for it to reach you. So you are borrowing from other libraries within your country and outside your country. Okay, and borrowing from libraries that actually have those particular articles or books or journals. And also nowadays, you no longer do that because you can actually do it at your fingertips, okay, in front of your computer. As long as you have internet, you'll be able to do that. And it also helps you in terms of your research method. One, for the data collection. Another one is for your data analysis, and it also helps you in your data management. How would it actually help you? What kind of research do you want to do? When you do research, first thing that you need to know is to find out the issues. The most important thing is the issues. From the issues, you will find problems. All right. And after that, you'll need your context. In which organization that you want to do the research. All right. So you need to look for issues, problems, and context. And that's where, right, technology can help you. If it's not just a normal research, normal search that you can do on the Google Scholar, sometime by the use of big data technology, all right, you'll be able to actually find certain types of literature that can actually help you to, okay, help you with your identifying of issues, problems, and the context. You find articles, you manage them. What you do now is that, okay, if you ask me, all right, I am familiar with the EndNote, okay, because EndNote was the one that was first introduced, and then that's the technology that actually used to help manage my articles. Now you have many. You have Mendeley, you have Jotero, you have RefWork, depending on how you want to actually manage your literature. All right. How was actually data collection done previously? It was all, okay, these are the same techniques, right? These are the same techniques that are being done, especially when we talk about qualitative research. You will see a lot of qualitative being highlighted because my major is in qualitative research rather than a quantitative research. All right, but I will share with you as well from some of the experience that I had, okay, in doing the quantitative research as well. Okay, in the qualitative research, we do interview. Previously, interview actually conducted face-to-face. You have to make appointments, all right? And then you have to travel to that particular place and meet that particular person and do your interview. And while you are interviewing them, all right, you need to ask them the permission to actually record. How do you record them? You use a tape recorder. But nowadays, with the use of, we are in the digital era, and the use of technology has helped us in this particular process. We are now able to do our interview online. What's the advantage of having the interview online? You don't have to travel. No matter how far your respondent is, you will still be able to interview them, provided they have the technology with them. They have computer, they have internet connections, all right? So basically, you will be able to interview them no matter where they are. So that's how the shift from face-to-face interview are now moving towards online interview. All right. From a face-to-face observation, you go down and do your fieldwork. But now you can use your computer technology to look at the areas or things at various locations and do your observations. You can watch videos about that particular place. That's also considered as the use of technology. Make sure it comes from a reliable source. All right. So these are how digital technology has actually changed the way how we do things. Online interviews are already considered as valid nowadays. Before, even if you use phone interview, right, because you can't reach that person, it's always questionable whether that particular interview is considered as reliable or not. But nowadays, all these are accepted for data collection method. This is where we need to be thankful to COVID-19. You know why? Okay, because of COVID-19, we are permitted to use all sorts of, I would say, mechanisms for us to actually collect the data. We can't go for face-to-face. We can use the digital platform, okay? Virtual interview. What else? You're allowed to do the observation from far, basically. Just using the secondary sources. You can do that. And even if you have the documents, it's no longer the hard copy documents that you are using. You can actually get a soft copy documents for you to do some analysis on it. Even if, let's say, you have your questionnaire survey, you no longer post it. What can you do? You can use what? SurveyMonkey. You can use what else? Your Google form, which you can just, you can use email or whatever it is that can use the technology instead of you going down to the post office and actually post it, buy stamps, things like that. Okay. What about in terms of data analysis? What is it that you can, how does technology actually help you in doing better research with technology? If you ask me how was qualitative research before this being conducted, we have to actually analyze our transcript. That means the interview that we do, we have to translate it, all right? And then we have to actually tag it, put colors, all right, on what they say. And then the next thing that we do is we, paste. I don't know whether you know the mahjong paper, the bigger paper or the white paper where you put like different colors for different themes. That's how it is being done manually. But nowadays, all that has already been transformed into data management software. So all the coloring of, theme or all these particular linkages that you want to do from one particular team to another can actually be conducted or can be performed inside that particular data management software. All right. And even now, okay, there are various types of data analysis software that you can actually use depending on, okay, the type of analysis that you want to do, especially for quantitative research. Earlier on, we were actually exposed to SPSS from various kind of versions to do what? To do our regression analysis. All right. You can do your multiple regression, things like that. But eventually after that, there are many other softwares that are already in the market that help you to do more analysis. Okay. A different kind of analysis. Because why? SPSS or certain techniques of analysis is all depending on your data, whether your data is normal or not normal. Okay, there's always a way for you to analyze those particular data. So there are softwares to help you with this. Nowadays, it depends on your objective of study for your quantitative. So from there, you will be collecting your data. What kind of data that you are collecting? All right. If a questionnaire survey, you will have a different software to analyze it. If you're using secondary data, then you have a different software for you to analyze it. Usually, secondary data with trend analysis, you tend to use PLS, partial least square. So these are the kind of software that you must actually understand and relate it to your research. Understand what your research is, what question that you are asking, and how you want to answer that particular question. Then you will know the kind of methodology that you want to use and what are the kind of software that can help you to answer that particular objective. And you will also have, okay, sometimes, okay, you just, especially in the context of big data, okay, you may get a database where you have all the data that are unstructured. Or sometimes you already have a database, okay, a certain like, if you want to do secondary, collect secondary data, sometimes you have ISI Thomson that actually have lots of, financial reports of industries that you can actually use, okay, to do your analysis. Okay, sometimes you also have database. How do you use database for your research? How do you think that you can use all this particular database for your research? Apart from ISI Thomson that you have, where you can have all the financial reports, what else can you actually do with this particular database? What do you think? Sometimes you have like not the database that contain, for example, okay, statistics of the population in certain countries, which you can actually use to help you do sort of like, certain type of analysis that you can actually use to look into the economic growth of certain countries. All right. So sometimes you have some database that's available on the web and some databases you need to purchase. Okay, it's all depending on what you are looking for. There are some open access, I would say, and there are some need to be subscribed. All right. Okay. Okay, this part is actually the research that we have conducted, just to share with you how, okay, the influence of technology, why sometimes that the old way of doing your research is still needed, and sometimes technology is also needed there. Okay, you cannot just simply take away or discard the traditional way of research, all right? Because from this particular experience of ours, and it might be similar in the context of your place in Indonesia, because of that particular similarity, okay, of the culture, some of the culture and the various kind of, I would say, religion that we have in our country, basically, and the what else? The life of people in our country. There are some type of research which still need to go back to using the traditional, and sometimes, okay, there are some which you can use technology to actually help you. Okay, this is a research that I want to share with you that we are currently conducting and finalizing our report. It's on agriculture supply chain and the COVID-19. All right. Okay. What was actually happening is that, okay, in doing any research, definitely the issues, the problems, and the context needs to be highlighted. All right. What was the actually issue that actually is happening here? The issues is COVID-19. Why it triggers the issue? Lockdown. All right. People got to stay at home. All economic sector closed. We are talking about social distancing, masks, things like that. This is a problem. This is an issue. And this particular issue basically creates problems. Why do I say that it creates problem? What kind of problem that's actually taking place? When you have lockdown, when the economic sector is not opening, right? Definitely you what? Whatever items that's available, the price will increase. All right. The sales for the customer, sorry, for the farmers here in the context of my research is the farmer. All right. Because we are looking into agriculture and we are talking about the supply chain between the farmer, the seller, and the end user. And why does some of the sales decrease? Because of the transportation problem, that some of the products that are supplied cannot move from one particular place to another place. All right. They have demand is very high. However, they cannot make any sales because they don't have the product. Because it's a limited supply, the price goes up. And even if they want to get the supply, the transportation cost is very high. So the cost increase. Indirectly, there's a supply chain disruption taking place. All right. So this particular supply chains taking place between the farmers, seller, and the end user. What creates the problem? Data collection. There's a movement control order. We can't move so much. We just have to stay home. And we are only allowed to actually move within 10-kilometer radius. All right. And we have to collect data from 2 particular districts, which is about 1 hour from where I am staying in Shah Alam, and another place is about 2.5 hours from where I am staying. And it's a different district. And during the movement control order, we are not allowed to move from one particular place to another. Remember, our movement is only 10-kilometer radius. If you are talking about a district that is 1 hour away, it means it's more than 10-kilometer radius. What more to say a district that is 2 to 2.5 hours away? All right. So data need to be collected because the research need to be completed within 4 months. How does that particular technology help us? MCO, that means there's no face-to-face interview are allowed. Yes, we decided to go for Google Form. And we decided to go for virtual platform for our interviews. That's where we were wrong. We thought that technology could actually help us. But what's happening is that, remember, the community that we are addressing are the farmers. They are very far away from where we are staying, and most farmers are definitely far away from the internet line. They don't have a stable internet connections, even though they have phones. That's where, okay, we are not able to actually collect the data, even if we have the technology. Yes, we can use Google Meet, we can use Zoom, but the respondents are not able to communicate with us because they don't have the internet connections. How are we going to collect the data? And we thought that they are having phone with them, smartphones, and we could send them Google Form for them to fill in. But unfortunately, the farmers is actually facing problem to actually download that particular Google Form because they can't afford to have the data to perform that particular task. And we are still not able to actually use technology in the context of our research. Why? Because of the respondents that we have. We have 3 types of respondents: the farmers, the sellers, and then the end users. So for the farmers, we were not able to actually collect any information because of that particular communication breakdown that we have. They're not computer savvy. Most of them are traditional farmers. And the place where they live do not have a strong internet connections, with which make it difficult. So we have to resort to phone conversations, that means phone calls to do the interview, no movement. But the problem that we faced was they don't trust us as a researcher because we are using phone. And it was quite difficult for us to actually get this particular information from our farmers. So at the end, we have to put our farmers aside for a while, and we have to wait until the traveling restriction are lifted, because we have no choice but to still go for face-to-face interview. Okay? So what I'm trying to highlight here is that there are times and there are certain types of respondents which you can't use technology to help you do research. You still need to go by the old way of doing the research. You still need to meet them face-to-face. So our data collection for the farmers are delayed for 4 months. So we need to actually apply for extension for that particular purpose because we can't collect that particular data. Only for those farmers who actually uses modern farming, who are very familiar with the computer technology, that we are able to get information from them, and which we can actually use virtual platform for us to communicate. In fact, some of them are able to answer our questions via Google form. But those with traditional farming, they are not able to do that. And what we can see from there is that, okay, there are age gap between the modern farmers and the traditional farmers. The younger generations who actually involved in modern farming are basically the ones who are more computer savvy as compared to those operating traditional farmers. So understanding them makes us able to develop a better method to actually collect the data. And we cannot depend only on technology. That's where we need to combine between technology and traditional way of collecting the data. But for our sellers, okay, the person who takes that particular fruits and veggies from the farmers and they sell it, okay, these are the group whom we are able to use Google Form and virtual platform to actually interact with them and get information. But again, not all that we are able to actually communicate with. The reason being, again, it goes back to the sellers, whether they are computer savvy and non-computer savvy. This is actually being demarcated by the age, I would say. Why? Because for those who sells in the market, who are like, 50 and above, normally they are not that familiar with the use of technology. So the smartphone are enough for them to just do their daily activities. Okay. So they're not able to answer the Google form, but for those who are computer savvy, they are able to actually give us a very fast feedback in terms of, okay, how they actually sell those particular products. Normally the fruit and the vegetables, they are able to answer the Google form and resend it back to us, but not those sellers who are already in their, I would say, mid-age and above. Still, a combination of both is actually required. Same goes to end users. Dapatnya end user yang ibu-ibu yang sudah berumur, they don't actually answer the Google form. They don't like that particular Google form. What they did was that, why not you just ask me, call me, and I will answer for you. But they don't like to actually use the Google form. All right. But the younger ones, the end users, they would prefer the Google form better and meeting virtually rather than meeting face to face. So for this particular research, we find that, all right, not just that we get the findings from these farmers on the problems that they face in farming and in selling their output, but we also get other kind of input for our research, which can be a separate kind of finding, which is the use of technology among farmers. And sellers, and then we are able to come up with an area of technology and supply chain. So this is basically how digital technology, not just that you are able to, not just that you are able to actually come up with this particular, help you with this particular research, but it helps us to develop another new research from this particular research. For the kind of data analysis okay, we are using a simple analysis for this, okay, nothing sophisticated, because the data that is required is only to look into the relationship of the supply chain. And some of the information which we hope to get, all right, because of the lack of past information, okay, due to minimal data that are being kept by certain, by related organization in the area of agriculture, we are not able to do further research, right? And what is required is the data storage, all right? So these are the kind of things that we actually find out, okay, on top of the answering the objective of the study, we also are being exposed to other area of research. And that's the reason why I'm able to share this with you, because this is actually not part of the research. The part of the research is just to look into that particular supply chain. But because of this particular predicaments that we face along the line in conducting this research, we are able to see how important technology is in ensuring the smooth running of that particular supply chain. That's why you see that those sellers, what we find is that sellers with computer savvy, they are able to sell the products not just within the district, but outside the district, because of the online platform that they are able to create. So the products that they sell are able to reach people not just within the district, but also outside. So that's how technology can actually help you in the context of research. All right. So from there, you will see that, okay, to a certain extent, people with technology, with the use of technology, can help you with certain research to a certain extent, but there are certain type of research which you may need to actually look at still use the traditional way of doing it. All right. So other kind of technology, since we are now into the era of big data as well. All right. I've not started using the big data in detail, but I've just started to actually play around with some of the big data technology to help me with certain research. Okay, basically it's on the bibliographical, okay, software using big data that helps you to actually look into the research areas. Okay, literatures that people have, articles that people have written on the area that you are planning to do. So from there, you'll be able to see, okay, who have done something that are very much related to your area. Okay, that means the area is more or less like yours, very close to yours, and areas that in that particular context, but slightly further away, it is actually being differentiated by the colors. All right. So if I'm not mistaken, it's biblical avenue, something like that. I can't remember the name. If I remember, I'll let you know later on. Okay. So just playing around with that particular, big data analytics, it helps you to actually, find out people who have already written articles in that particular context of yours. All right. And the use of big data, actually, you are using unstructured data, which can actually, when you use big data analytics, you can actually find out more about certain things. All right. So this is one of the newest or the latest techniques of conducting research. But if you want to do research using a big data analytics, you need to actually come up with an objective that enables you to use this particular technology. If your objective, and to answer your objective, the method that you're using, okay, doesn't tally with this, then you will not be able to use this particular big data analytics. Okay, this is some of the this one of the example of the areas that actually use big data. So this particular Fazekas is actually conducting a research on corruption research. All right. So what he did was that, okay, he used data mining and multiple regression. He used open access data. That means what it means by open access data is data that's actually available on the internet. All right. Using that particular data, by incorporating some of the techniques used, that is data mining and multiple regression, using this particular big data analytics, he's actually able to see the corruption among the procurements activities in the world. All right. So this is one of those ways how you can use big data to conduct research, provided your objective allows you to use this particular technology. So you need to formulate your research question and objective well for you to be able to use this particular big data for research. If you're talking about big data about farming, okay, in the world, not every countries have got database about farming activities. You can only use those countries that are actually having databases for farming activities. Then you'll be able to actually use this particular big data. All right. So that's the reason why if you want to use purely high technological things or high technology for your research, make sure you formulate your objective in accordance to the technology that you want to use. All right. Okay, this is an example that I was mentioning to you just now. When I type inside that particular software of big data for the literature search, I just put wakaf. All right. And when I just click, I find that there are so many people using the context of wakaf in different subject areas. And that's where you see how it links to awqaf. Some mention it as awqaf. If you click in detail, they will tell you who the authors are. All right. So basically, if this one, they will tell you a bit, okay, slightly detail who the authors are, okay, in the area. So if you are using that particular technology, I think you can find it, trial and error, okay, play around with it. Some of it are free, some of it that you have to subscribe. All right. So maybe you want to play around with it, you can use it. So this is how, just now is just in the context of the subject. All right. Education, social finance, but it can also give you the detail of the article in terms of the authors who wrote it. So you can actually have it here as well. It will be some who are closest to you, slightly further and further in terms of the context. They will differentiate it with colors. So you will have to understand the legend, which one is very much close to your topic, which one is slightly further and the furthest, but do have some link with your topic. All right. So this is how you are able to actually find your articles.
Okay, I'm sorry, madam.
Yeah.
I have to remind you, I think we have 5 minutes left because before we let to discussion session.
All right, no problem. Okay, it's almost finished. Okay, so if let's say you are interested in understanding more about this particular big data and social sciences, Okay, this is one of the books, the latest, okay, 2021, that you can actually read. All right. So basically, where does the technology leads us? Basically, leads us to new understanding, new knowledge, and global networking. So if I want to do research on poverty alleviation, comparing between Malaysia and Indonesia, it will be much easier now. Because why? Because there are technology in place. I can be in touch with you anytime. And the only thing that we might not be getting in detail is meeting those people, okay, whom we can actually have connection with them and understand them better when we are with them face to face. So hopefully with this, all right, remember, like Arthur saying, science and technology revolutionize our lives, but memory, tradition, and myth frame our response. Okay, we still have that. We still have our values, the tradition that doesn't change, even if technology is actually in place. And one thing that you must remember, technology will never replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers is transformational. All right. So with that, actually, I will end my presentation. All right. So stop share. Right.
All right. Thank you, Madam Sarita.
Yeah.
Is Prof. Indra here already? So I was contacted. I was contacted by Prof. Indra, and she said she has to running some errands, very urgent. So she told me to help you to guide the discussion session
no worry,
until she comes
worry.
back.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I see someone is raising his hands.
Yes. So actually, I already wrote on the chat column that if you want to ask directly to the speaker, you can raise your hands, or in other way, you can type your questions in the chat column. I think before we go to the chat column, we can directly to the participants who wants to ask to you directly. Silakan, please, Mr. Tony Augusta.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, Madam Sharifa.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
And hear
nice to meet you too.
It's a good lecture, actually.
Thank you so much. Yes, anything that you want to ask?
Yes, I am Tony from Magister student at UPN Veteran Jawa Timur.
Okay.
May I ask how we conduct social research in literature review method?
How do we? Okay.
How we conduct social research in literature review method? Because I think social research usually use direct participant for survey and we meet in person to ask question and something like that. Thank you, Madam Sharifa.
So, okay, thank you, Tony. So you are asking how we are going to conduct literature search, is it?
Yeah, social research.
Social research.
With literature review method. Thank you.
With literature review method, it means, are you asking me literature review method is from past research?
Yes. Like
you read articles.
Yeah, with article.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So when you read articles, first thing is, before you read an article, all right, or find any articles, there are three things that you need to understand. First is, what's the issue that you are looking for? Apa isunya? Alright? Apa dia punya masalahnya? Dan apa konteks? It means where you want to do it. Once you find this, okay, then this one you can find through your interest area. Tony berminat area apa? Which part of subject that you are interested in? Can you give me an example?
Like like poverty research.
Okay. So when we talk about poverty research, you know that, okay, you like that particular area. So first, apa isunya di dalam poverty research? Alright. Before you want to find that out, okay, apa masalahnya dalam poverty research? You already got one keyword already, poverty research. Alright, and then you want to find the context after that. What you do is, you type first poverty research. Where? In Indonesia, in the world, or whatever it is, okay? First, read the abstract of the article first. If you think that that article tell you something that you are interested in, then you read further. Sometimes by reading the abstract, okay, even though it's on poverty, but it's not related to what you want. Okay. For example, maybe dalam poverty, you are interested in increasing the living standard of farmers in Jawa Timur, for example. All right. So first thing that you need to do is find out what is the issue of poverty among the farmers in Jawa Timur. Why do you want to do that area? Why do you want to do about the farmers in Jawa Timur, not in other area, not in Bandung, or not in, you know, Sumatra? Why not other areas? You can find further. You can read and read and read on that one. All right. When you do your literature search, first will always be your subject matter. That is poverty alleviation. All right. Second, keywords that you need to find out is farmers, agriculture and farmers, agriculture and poverty. Okay, farmers and poverty. So you play around with that particular keywords and search for it. How do you search? Just type Google Scholar. If you don't have any database, use Google Scholar. That's the easiest that you can actually find. Sometimes that Google Scholar after that will direct you to that particular article. All right. Just type Google Scholar and then you just go there. It's free. Okay. So from the Google Scholar, just type the name or the keywords. Then you'll find some articles coming out. So try to read some of those articles and find out whether is that the area that you want to. It's not something that you can do quite fast, right? You need to really spend some time to actually search for your article. Search 10 articles first per search. Read them and summarize what are the articles that gives you some indication that there are some issues or problem in that area. Jangan download banyak-banyak. You download a few, you read, right? Then you download again, right? Because if you download so many, then you are, you know, overwhelmed with so many information until you will be confused. Okay, until you will lose your interest. If I were you, what I did was that I download like 2 or 3 articles. Then I will read just the abstract first, right? And then if I find that, oh, the area is very interesting, then I will read in detail. When I read in detail, okay, I don't read at the beginning, I won't be reading the methodology first. I will read the introduction, all right? And then I will read the findings and the conclusion. Why? Because I just want to find out the issues, the problems that they are facing first. And once I already know the issues, the problems, and the context that they are looking at, later on, I will keep the article. Later on, if I am doing the methodology part, then I will read the methodology part. First thing is to start reading slowly the introduction, all right? Because inside the introduction, they will tell you what they will actually intend to study and what would be at the end, the findings and the conclusion. Bit by bit, then only you start building up. If you ask me, I will always like open up a simple Excel, right? I'll do the analysis columnar. I will have like author's name, the year, the title, right? And then what are the findings and conclusion from the paper, and what is your comment on that paper? The comment that you have for that paper will be the one that you are going to use to write. Okay.
All right.
I hope that answer you, Tony.
Yeah, thank you very much for the answer, Madam Sharifah.
Are you clear on that one? I hope it's clear for you.
Yes, my point, make an Excel for that. Thank you.
All right, okay.
All right, thank you, Mas Tony. Before we continue, Madam, I would like to inform that it's okay if you want to ask in Bahasa Indonesia or mixed Bahasa, because I think Madam Sharifah is also understand, or maybe I can translate it for you too.
Yeah.
Okay. Then before we go to the participants who raised their hands, we have one question on the chat section from Ita Masita. She is an accounting student in Master of Accounting Study Program, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. She has two questions. The first one is how to ensure that digital-based research instruments have complied with academic rules. Because there is an epistemological dilemma whether this approach is academically acceptable, and there are efforts to avoid maladaptation.
Okay, then the second one is...
Second one is what breakthrough did the integrate method, conventional and big data, for address the methodological gap between both of them?
Okay, for the first question, all right, Ita, you are asking about how to ensure the digital research instruments have complied with academic rules. Okay. In this particular context of looking into the digital-based research instrument, there are certain research instruments which are not acceptable in certain research, and there are certain type of digital-based that are acceptable. So you want to know whether they have complied with academic rules. So usually, in our university, okay, regardless of what approach that the students or the lecturers are proposing, for them to actually method that they actually use for research, they have to go through a committee. You can use whatever research instrument, all right, but you need to get an approval. Like us, we have our committee, which is called as ethical committee, that ensures all methods used, whether it is a traditional method or it's a digital-based research instrument, they have to go through this particular committee. Once it is approved, all right, and there's no sign that that particular instrument violate the academic rules, then only you will be issued a letter, all right, saying that your methodology is accepted. I don't know about your university, but we do have that. And it's good to actually ensure that this is basically acceptable. But one thing that when we talk about acceptable or non-acceptable, okay, usually the use of whatever research that you have conducted and you found already the findings, one way to see whether that's acceptable or not is usually by publishing it. All right, that's the reason why you need to publish the papers, okay, in a good journal, so that whoever professors who actually read on your research can actually give you that feedback. That is actually the purpose of publication. It's not so much for us to actually, we want, Scopus 1 or 2 or 3, whatever it is, okay? But the purpose of us, like what you say, you want to know whether it is academically acceptable, is actually by publishing it in the right journal. So if you're talking about using computer-based digital, find out, okay, which journal that publish, okay, using this digital-based research instrument that you are planning to use. Send it to that particular journal. Once you get the feedback, okay, usually they will review and give you some feedback. All right. And then you will know to what extent that whatever methodology that you are using is actually acceptable or not. When we talk about the breakthrough, the integrate method, conventional and big data for address the methodological gap between both of them. Well, basically, frankly speaking, okay, I've not been using much of big data yet. All right, we are just using the normal technology that we have, like the basic technological instrument that we have. And for me to answer this, to say what the breakthrough is, okay, in terms of this integration, the problem that we are still facing in terms of using these two technology is that, okay, is in addressing the type of respondents. Basically, not so much unless your country is a country like Japan, for instance, where everything is high-tech, then it's easy for you to bridge between these two kinds of technology. But with countries like us, okay, like even if in Malaysia as well, we are still lacking in terms of this particular use of big data. So it wouldn't be easy for us to bridge that gap yet. Because in Japan, it is quite easy for them to do that, because even in farming, they are able to actually help the farmers in terms of when to produce the crops, when to harvest, when they are supposed to be, putting in all this, the
It's
not just the seeds, the budget.
oh,
Okay, so they have this particular technology to help them when to do all that. So if you're talking about our farmers here in Malaysia, there are still people who are still not able to even, I would say, get the help to get the seeds on the ground yet. What more to say using technology? All right. So that's where I think, okay, in developing countries, perhaps yes. Hold on, ya.
bersemangat sekali ini soalnya.
Semangat bela negara, Mbak Ani. Madam Sarifah, semangat bela negara untuk menjelaskan.
Alright,
Yes.
that's for Mbak Ita, I think.
Okay, thanks, Madam Sarifah. Good evening.
Mbak Aning
Oke.
itu ada Mas Hamas itu, Mbak Aning itu juga mahasiswa maksi.
Okay.
Mas Hamas ya.
Okay. The
Present.
next turn. Yeah, the next turn maybe Mas Hamas Adimisa before Pak Vicky ya. Mas Hamas, you may ask directly to Madam Sarifa.
Vicky, I saw the name Vicky first, I think.
Yes. But I think he's not.
Okay.
Maybe Mas Hamas first. It's okay.
All right. Okay.
Gak apa-apa kalau Mas Vicky.
Monggo, Mas Hamas saja
Oke.
dulu.
Terima
Kan
kasih
Mas
atas
Hamas dulu.
Terima kasih Mas, terima kasih Prof.
Senior ngalah, Mas Vicky.
Sebelumnya saya minta maaf Prof pakai bahasa Indonesia karena jujur gak bisa bahasa Inggris.
No worries. Nggak apa-apa.
No problem.
Seperti yang Prof Sarifah katakan tadi bahwasannya kita melakukan riset di digital era itu kita bisa melihat dari fenomena apa yang terjadi. Kemudian saya juga tertarik dari pemaparan Prof Sarifah tentang event yang sekarang ini akan pandemi, kemudian adanya alat bantu dari teknologi, terus kemudian basic kita juga akuntansi, mungkin lebih luasnya bisa dikatakan sebagai ekonomik. Tentu kita pastinya akan membahas yang namanya fintech atau teknologi keuangan. Nah, kemudian saya juga tertarik bahwasanya di event yang sekarang lagi pandemi, itu tentu banyak sekali manfaat teknologi yang bisa kita gunakan untuk salah satunya untuk mengurangi dampak atau social distancing akan pandemi itu sendiri. Contohnya seperti e-commerce. Misalkan kita pada sebelumnya itu kita menggunakan transaksi secara manual atau tradisional, kini kita melakukan transaksi itu secara virtual. Nah, kemudian saya ada yang terbesit di pikiran saya, Prof, mengenai tentang e-money atau yang bisa kita sebut dengan dompet digital. Nah, saya juga pernah melihat itu di televisi bahwasanya di Uni Eropa, khususnya negara Uni Eropa itu sudah melakukan yang namanya digitalisasi uang. Jadi hampir di negara metropolitan di sana itu sudah tidak ada cash on hand. Nah, saya juga berpikir mungkin ketika penerapannya ini nanti dilakukan di negara berkembang seperti Indonesia, mungkin akan membantu untuk mengurangi adanya itu tadi social distancing akan pandemi. Benar, Prof? Nah, kemudian untuk melakukan riset akan demikian, otomatis kan kita akan meninjau efektif dan efisiensi sehingga nantinya menimbulkan sebab akibat. Bagaimana ketika kita melakukan mutlak full melakukan mutlak bahwa gak ada lagi cash on hand, kemudian beralih ke e-money, tentu itu kan kita membutuhkan untuk sampel yang digunakan pasti yang minimal lah memiliki gadget. Nah, kalau ditinjau kembali itu sepertinya kan tidak akan mencerminkan kredibilitas karena mengingat di negara berkembang itu pasti rakyatnya masih banyak yang tidak memiliki gadget. Nah, menurut Prof Sarifah itu bagaimana sih langkah-langkah untuk melakukan riset penelitian mengenai efektivitas dan efisiensi menggunakan e-money di masa pandemi khususnya di negara berkembang? Mungkin itu saja yang bisa saya tanyakan. Terima kasih banyak, Prof.
Maksud sama ialah, alright, macam mana hendak melakukan research ke atas negara-negara yang developed country,
Yes.
right? Developed country yang mana masih ada juga di antara rakyatnya yang belum memiliki teknologi yang boleh cashless. Are you talking? Adakah itu maksudnya?
Betul, Prof. Nanti bagaimana menilai efisiensinya kalau misalkan tidak melibatkan mereka, kan otomatis tidak kredibel, Prof.
So basically, when you want to study, bila mau study this kind of research, alright, especially bila you're talking about the effectiveness of using a technology, and orang kata yang technology must always it should be efficient, it should be effective. Tetapi you must actually find a sample. That's why I say sample adalah penting. Untuk mengkaji effectiveness atau ineffectiveness of certain technology, you must choose your sample. Pemilihan sampel adalah penting. Like what you said, sampel mesti ada orang-orang yang tak ada teknologi. It has to be a combination of both. So the best place, I would say, that information, kalau negara maju, we cannot get that information. How do you get that information? If you can get that information, then you can do it. But what I can see is that if you want to see how it is effective or not effective, perhaps we can do it in our country first, where you can easily get that particular sample. The most important thing is, can you get the sample for your research? Can you get the respondent? If you cannot get the respondent, then don't do it. So maknanya kalau you dapat your respondent, for example, okay, let's say Bank Mandiri, for example, all right, in Indonesia, introducing a cashless mechanism for all the customers. What they can do is that definitely the bank akan ada database on all the customers. Nanti dia akan, you can see from the database siapa yang menggunakan that cashless transaction, and siapa customer dia yang masih tak guna lagi that cashless transaction. You see? So if you can get access to that particular bank information, then you can see whether it has been effective or not. If you know that 90% of the customers are actually using cashless transaction, only 10% are not using, then you want to find out why this 10% is not using. If your research is only to find out why they are not using it, then you need to get permission from the Bank Mandiri to contact these customers. So we can't just simply go to these particular customers and ask. So the information of who is actually using the system or not using the system is the bank. So if the bank is willing to give you the access to get the information, then you can. But if they cannot give you that access for information, then that's where our limitation to our research is. We can't do the research. I hope that answer your question. Even if in negara maju, if you can get the information on the use of fintech in those countries, how many percent have been using, how many percent have not been using, if it is an open access data, then you can do it. Dia ada open access data, and dia ada yang data yang you need permission. For example, like Mandiri punya data is not open access, mesti minta kebenaran. Right? So if you're looking into maybe Netherlands fintech database, if it's open access, boleh diakses oleh sesiapa, then you can do that and use it as your sample. You can find out, ada setengah information to open access, ada yang tidak. So kalau it's open access, chances of using big data is very high. You boleh guna big data technology to help you. Kalau not open access is not that easy because you may need permission and after that you may need to buy the data. Jangan susahkan diri sendiri. Find something that's easy for you to get access to. No need to spend.
Oke, gimana Mas Samas?
Ada apa lagi?
Terima kasih. Soalnya saya itu tertarik dengan dengan pernyataannya Jokma di tahun 2030 nanti diperkirakan itu dunia tidak lagi membutuhkan cash on hand.
Alright, okay, but what you think that you can do is you can do an awareness study. Okay, awareness study, find out adakah orang di any countries use maybe a survey monkey. Okay, you can just blast to any people that whether the citizen of that country is ready for cashless or not.
True, ma'am.
That one, yes, you can easily do that one. Are you ready for cashless transactions? Then you set a questions to find out, okay, whether they are ready or they are not ready. So you need to find that particular framework for that.
Baik, Prof. Terima kasih, Prof.
Alright, sama-sama. I hope that answer. Adakah menjawab soalan Samas tadi?
Iya, Prof. Saya paham, Prof.
Okay.
I want to ask, I think it's a follow-up question. I'm sorry, but because the discussion is very interesting, so I have a follow-up question. What is the minimum number of sample that we have to collect to conduct a research with quantitative research?
Okay.
Is there any minimum number of samples?
Minimum number of samples depending on your population. If you read the book by Sekaran, Sekaran, all right, inside the book he did mention about the how to calculate the sample.
Oh, okay.
Okay, have a look at it. I can't remember how many percent, but it's around 30%. There's a measurement.
Okay.
And there's a statistical measurement to see the what's the best sample size.
All right.
And then after that, from that sample size, I think once you have distributed, he also did mention how many percent that you receive can be analyzed.
Oh, all right. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome. Sekaran, Sekaran.
Sekaran. Okay. I think Prof. Indra is already here.
I think Vicky has been raising the hands.
All right, Prof. Indra.
Maybe we go to
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Vicky first.
Okay.
We also use those book.
Sekaran. Yeah.
Yes.
Uma sekarang.
In our Uma Sekaran. We use this book. Yeah. Yes, first of all, I want to apologize because I have to attend a sudden meeting tonight.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, Pak Vicky. Mas Vicky.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm sorry, the background is sharing. Assalamualaikum, Madam.
Salam.
I have maybe one short question because previously you explained to us about mixed method. My question is why a research need to be conducted using mixed method? Because we know that quantitative want to make generalization. Qualitative want to dig very specific information. Why we have to combine this method? And then because I think if I continue my PhD and then if I'm taking mixed method, it will lengthen my study period. It means that whether I need to double the effort, the time that I need to spend because I need to do it using two methods. Maybe that's my question, Madam. Thank you.
Okay. Mixed method is actually being used. It depends on your research objective. Okay, if your research objective allows you to use, okay, only the qualitative, then throughout your study is a qualitative. But there are certain issues that perhaps that you find which creates the problem that you want to solve, okay, require you to answer, require you to develop objective that requires you to use both method. For example, right? Let's say if you have a questionnaire that you construct, you wanted to do quantitative, right? But after doing that particular quantitative, all those particular questions, suddenly at the end, right, you ask an open question. Open-ended question, like, you know, if let's say just one question saying that, okay, if you are not satisfied, can you actually explain why that you are not satisfied with this? So they have to write. You need to actually analyze that because it's inside your questionnaire. And perhaps finding the reason for that requires you to do a little bit of a qualitative research just for that particular part. And that doesn't make that your research becomes a mixed method. Your mixed method here is that your qualitative answer is just to support your quantitative research.
So, Madam, if I can conclude, the main method that I use is quantitative, but because I need to find specific finding, and then I go to qualitative.
Yes.
How about the vice versa? The main method's qualitative, but can we do it into quantitative?
Yes.
Because quantitative is generalization.
Yeah, but what you do is your quantitative is not to generalize, but your quantitative is only to support your qualitative studies.
I see. Yes.
All right. For example, all right, sometimes that you already found out, okay, for a simple example, which I relate to the farmers that I was talking about just now. Okay, we ask the farmers, okay, why like they are, you know, at the end of the day, they are not able to sell the products that they have produced, you know, sorry, the crops that they have produced. And at the end, there are so much of excess and they are not able to sell it. Okay. So after that particular interviews, there's always reasons for that. And I wanted to know, okay, how many of those particular farmers, which I've already interviewed so far from 2 of these particular districts, are saying the same thing. So I quantify that numbers, okay, I quantify those, okay, into numbers. So I can make a conclusion saying that 50% of the farmers cannot, okay, sell their products because of this particular movement control order, because transportation, they face transportation problem that they cannot get access to the district, something like that. So I can say that at least 50%, instead of just saying, you know, some farmers cannot do this, some farmers cannot do that, but I am quantifying it just to show that, okay, how important that matter is by putting the numbers there. So that's how the quanti supports my quali.
Thank you, Madam.
Most welcome.
Okay. Mas Vicky?
Yeah, Prof. Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
I
clear
hope-
answer.
Yes.
I hope so. Yeah.
Is there anyone still curious with Miss Zehan, Miss Sarifah Nur Zehan?
Yeah.
It's a very detailed and clear explanation. Explain the research methodology. Yeah. Is there anyone? But I think I'm so sorry, because now in Surabaya time we have already at 9 p.m. and of course in Malaysia is already 10.
No worries.
So
Right.
yeah, unfortunately, this is time to end this lecture, and I conclude that from Dr. Sehan explanation, pandemic actually is a blessing for us.
Yeah.
Because there are so many opportunity that we can do with the data, the online, the internet. We can easily get the data, and so big data that we can use it for our research. But however, the scientific principle in the two research paradigm, qualitative and quantitative, must be done with its validity and the accuracy. So thank you so much, Dr. Sehan, for your clear, inspiring explanation for my student and also for our lecture. It is means so much for us. Hopefully, this is not the first and the end of your visit in UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. We hope that in the next, the future, we will get together in another activity, especially in research. Now I get back to Mbak Aning for continue this meeting.
All right.
Aning?
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. Indra. So, the honorable participants, now we have come to the end of this guest lecture session, research methodology in digital era. Very, like Prof. Indra said, very inspiring session with Madam Sharifah Nursehan. Thank you for the knowledge and information that you shared with all of us tonight. And I would like to thank you everyone for joining us, and please be aware of the e-certificate link shared in the chat box. And that's all from me. See you on the next opportunity. And
wait, Ma Aning. I
Okay.
think Bu Dwi will say something.
Oh,
Yeah, Bu Dwi.
okay. Silakan, Bu.
Mike masih belum.
Mic-nya, Bu.
Thank you very much, Madam Sharifah. Semoga apa yang telah disampaikan memberikan pencerahan kepada kami atas ilmu yang telah dibagikan kepada kami menjadi bagian amal ibadah. Semoga apa yang kita atau Madam Sharifah sampaikan pada malam hari ini menjadi bagian dari amal ibadah Ibu Sharifah. Next time kami berharap ada kolaborasi riset antara mahasiswa Maksi UPN Veteran dengan student Ibu Sharifah, dan juga nanti ada kesempatan, next time ada kesempatan mahasiswa kami bisa belajar metodologi ke ARI, insya Allah.
Insya Allah.
Terima kasih. Mungkin itu yang bisa kami sampaikan, Mbak Aning.
Baik, Bu Dwi, terima kasih. I would like to say thank you everyone again for joining us, and I would like to repeat again the information from the committee that there are e-certificate link shared in the chat box. I think that's all from me. See you on the next opportunity and next guest lecture class. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay productive. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Thank you so
wabarakatuh.
much. I hope to
Thank
see you all again.
Terima kasih.
Thank you semua. Terima kasih.
Sama-sama.
Terima kasih.
Terima
Bu
kasih
Sarifah.
Sehat
semua.
selalu.
Forward to see you all.
Yeah, thank you for your kindness.
No problem. Thank you so much. Okay. Assalamualaikum
Okay.
everyone.
Waalaikumsalam. Sampai ketemu kembali.
Insyaallah. Insyaallah.
Insya Allah.
Okay.
Sehat selalu, Prof.
Insyaallah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Mohon izin lah.
Bye.
Oke, semuanya. Assalamualaikum. Jaga
Salam.
kesehatan. Izin live ya.
Waalaikumsalam Bu Dwi.
Iya.
Dengarin tudungmu iku sederhana banget.
Iya, padahal
Iya.
saya sudah pakai jilbab beneran, tumben.
Beda,
Ini nggak-
auranya beda.
Ini nggak
Biasanya
beneran.
blusuan saya.
Ini jilbabnya nggak beneran ini. Iya, Bang?
Ya, tapi dengan sederhana ini kamu lebih seperti kiai nyainya pondok pesantren.
Ono Mbak Enda lho, ono Nyai Ronggeng. Iki ono Nyai Ronggeng.
Ronggeng, nyai tapi ronggeng. Wah,
Ronggeng, Nyai Ronggeng. Nyai Ronggeng itu penyanyi. Aku kan
ronggeng
penyanyi.
itu tanda.
Kamu
sayang.
penyonyo, Wi.
Tapi tanda sing eksklusif.
Mulai.
Tanda sing eksklusif. Wis ya, oke istirahat dulu ya
Oke.
semuanya sehat.
Terima
Mbak Enda,
kasih.
Mbak
Ya,
Erna, Mbak Aning,
yuk.
terima kasih.
Sama-sama,
Bu
Bu.
Indra, terima kasih. Yuk ya, izin live. Oke,
Yeay.
assalamualaikum.
Saya juga izin live.